Did you watch Suits?
No.
That was our third date.
You fell in love on your third date?
The longest I went without being around our kids was almost 3 weeks.
Well, don't threaten me with a good time.
I was not well.
Oh, yeah.
Relationships and vinegar.
Are they saying negative things and then secretly going home and making single skillet spaghetti?
Relationships and vinegar. Pepper, salt.
What is that outside? What is that outside?
Yeah.
That's an elephant.
Kiss, kiss.
Flower sprinkles. I love them.
The little thing you...
Are we gonna be safe? Yeah, you're safe.
Oh.
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Angela here, and I'm back with a highly requested Bizarre Moments episode about Season 2 of With Love, Meghan. It's a season that was simultaneously filmed alongside Season 1, but released at a different time, mainly to give the illusion that Meghan is constantly working and delivering fresh content to Netflix. It also gives the idea that the show got renewed, but trust me, after these numbers, Meghan will be lucky to even get Netflix to keep her deal alive at this point. I've seen a lot of feedback, especially from those listening on podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and here's the thing, Meghan is a very complex figure. The backlash against her isn't just random. It mainly comes from people feeling she's been dishonest about the royal family, that she used Harry as a stepping stone, her history of hypocrisy, her outrageous lies, how she treats people, the numerous credible bullying allegations, and the way she carefully crafts an image that doesn't match her actions. Think about it, she launched Archewell as a world-changing project, but when the ideas ran dry, we ended up with jam jars on Netflix. So if you're following along on podcasts and are new to the world of Meghan Markle and her BS, keep that context in mind, and wherever you're tuning in, don't forget to follow for more, subscribe, and leave a 5-star rating. It helps us grow and bring you even more unfiltered breakdowns. You all loved my breakdown of Meghan's appearance on the circuit with Emily Chang, so keep an eye out, part 2 is on the way. And if you missed the bizarre moments from season 1, definitely check out that video once you're done here. I'll give you a quick update on Harry and his meeting with his father, King Charles first, and then we'll get into the flopping numbers and embarrassing bizarre moments from season 2. Stay tuned until the end because I found an OG embarrassing moment of Meghan's that will truly wrap this comedy show up. Harry's handwritten plea. As you all know by now, Prince Harry met with his father, and the deets were spilled to Us Weekly by a royal source, probably Harry or his publicist, or Meghan, but nonetheless. Harry and King Charles reunited on September 10 after years of a bitter fallout, and according to a royal source, the reconciliation was sparked by a handwritten letter Harry sent earlier this year expressing his desire to reconnect. I guess Meghan's fondness for handwritten letters may have rubbed off on Harry. That, or they're both in desperate need of some help following their scrapped OG Netflix deal that has now been reduced to a prove you can do something right deal. The meeting itself was described as super positive, very relaxed, and very emotional. The two caught up about Charles's health and Harry's children, with the source adding that there were hugs and tears at the meeting. Harry later told The Guardian that the focus really has to be on my dad moving forward, even suggesting he hopes to bring Archie and Lilibet back to the UK soon. He gave the exclusive to The Guardian where he said his conscience is clear and he has no regrets about putting his side of the story out there so publicly. Mind you, this came right after he met with his dad. Well, Harry, good to know you don't feel even a shred of remorse for trashing your family, dragging your brother and sister-in-law, insisting you were never close, and the overall clown show you've been part of. He also claimed he's not as unhappy as the press makes him seem, but he admitted he wants to spend more time in the UK. What happened to loving California's sunshine, surfing, and the whole everything is better here narrative? Uh-oh, is the facade finally cracking? He also shared the details of the meeting with his dad, which begs the question, is this just another thing he's using to talk about in public? You meet with your dad and then you give an exclusive story to The Guardian the next day? If you guys want a deeper dive into Harry, what he's been up to, and how he's been quietly sidelined by Meghan professionally while she focuses on building as ever, solo, let me know. I know we've been heavy on the Meghan coverage these past few months, but trust me, there is never a shortage of Harry drama. With that being said, let's get into season 2 of With Love, Meghan and that mess. Flop on arrival. Season 1 of With Love, Meghan actually managed to sneak into Netflix's top 10, pulling in 2.6 million views its first week. People were curious, willing to give Meghan a chance, and tuned in to see what the hype was about. But once viewers realized the BS, they dipped. Fast forward to season 2, and the drop-off is brutal. The show completely failed to crack Netflix's top 10 and didn't even make Luminate's top 50 streaming charts in its first week, which means less than 1.11 million people bothered to watch in the first 2 days. And I know that this bothers Meghan because to this day, she is still trying to pretend like Archetypes was this groundbreaking podcast. When asked about the lessons she learned about archetypes, she said, "The public was the first indication I had in this new chapter of my life of how global the audience was because they reached #1 in more than 30 countries in non-English speaking countries where English is not the first language." What does that have to do with lessons? She kept going, pointing out that even in France it charted despite the top 10 usually being in French, adding that was a helpful reminder of the global reach and the desire to see what I would release into the world. Then she ends it by saying, "I also learned at that time, you see, we were in partnership with Netflix, but we have very close personal relationships." Genuinely, what does that even mean? What does that have to do with lessons? Right off the bat, we can see how much numbers and approval matter to her, which is interesting because if it came from a good place, like having a successful self-help podcast that you want to constantly grow to help people, I get it. But with Meghan, Archetypes wasn't authentic to her. It was a platform used to hit back at every name she was called and every story told about her. She has this desire to prove things to people just for her own self-validation rather than the greater good, which is a difficult thing to be when your entire brand is about helping others. The numbers reflect that when every project flops on arrival. Season 1 didn't rank in the top 300 in the semi-annual data chart, and now Season 2 probably won't crack the top 500. So let's take a look at things people missed out on, or didn't. Embarrassment on repeat, Meghan's Season 2. In this season, Meghan is still trying to make flower sprinkles happen.
What was that you just added?
Flower sprinkles. I love them.
Wow.
Tan France, a British-American fashion designer, then hits her with,
That's the gayest I've seen in a long time.
to which they both crack up at, and even though it doesn't feel like an insult, it's hilarious that he asked her what it even is, because the flower sprinkles are basically as ever's pumpkin spice latte. Like, it's the thing everyone associates with the brand alongside jam, or at least that's what Meghan is trying for. And it feels awkward seeing it in Season 2 because it's like bringing someone you don't really know and then that person also isn't familiar with anything you're doing like the previous season. But that's the funny part about framing this season as a second season even though it was an extension of the first season. One thing I noticed about Meghan is her facial expressions during convos with her guests where it feels like she's posing for a screen cap, if that makes sense. We see her here during her convo with Tan where she's smirking at him, finger pressed to her mouth, and then her eyes widen at him when he asks her about the moment she fell in love with Harry, aka their third date.
Was there a moment that you were like, oh no, I know that I love this guy?
Yes, that was our third date.
You fell in love on your third date?
We met in Botswana and we camped for 5 days together.
Tan is basically trolling her, telling her, "Oh, so you really had time to fall in love in those few days," and Meghan, defensive of her story, says,
You really get to know somebody when you're in a little tent together.
and of course, cue the theatrics to make the story extra believable.
There's like, what is that outside the, what is that outside the tent?
Yeah.
That's an elephant. Are we gonna be safe? Yeah, you're safe.
Oh.
Okay.
Where did I hear this sob story before? Oh, right.
Looking down my hallway like, are we safe? Are the doors locked? Is security on? Are my babies safe?
She really shows off her range. Same story, almost word for word, whether it's the cheesy falling in love scene or the absurd someone's breaking into your secluded island home scene. Mind you, they stayed in a luxurious tent in Botswana, something even Vogue covered, so it's not exactly what I'd call surviving in the wild.
You are making me scared.
That's me when someone hasn't caught on to this woman's lies by now. Debunking the lies and bizarre stories they both told on Netflix doesn't get old, so if you haven't checked out my previous videos on that, I'll link my playlist right here. Now back to Botswana. Meghan reveals that Harry told her, "I love you" first.
Did you tell him first or did he tell you?
He told me.
And she smiles this "I achieved that" smile, which is a bit awkward, but Tan is a good sport, so he's like, haha, aw, you started to blush, and then she says,
Still got it.
You still got it.
My favorite pastime is Meghan acting like she didn't scope at Harry and pretend she was this whole other person until when they finally got married and she pulled back the curtain to reveal her true nature, which was she wasn't this girly willing to move to Africa like his mommy, the way they tried to portray on Netflix, and yet blame the media for outing their idea of moving to Africa. Because even if that was the case, it's not like the entirety of Africa was doxed. I just think it's hilarious that she keeps up this act like he pined for her, he fell for her first, and oh right,
That man loves me so much.
The topic of children is of course brought up because how else is Meghan gonna promote her life, as we saw in my last video, where the kids were on set of the show, photos she posted on Instagram to promote season 2. Anyway, Tan France talks about how he needs his kids, and if he doesn't see them for a couple of days, his heart would be broken. Meghan is then tight-lipped, looks down, and nods, and a part of me feels like she maybe felt a little called out, because for a long time, she was jetting off multiple times without the kids for days at a time. She then says,
Oh, I know. The longest I went without being around our kids was almost 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
not well.
Oh, yeah.
oh, I wonder what she's talking about. Right, the Queen's funeral. Who remembers her tragic and performative moment? The dramatic outfit, dark makeup, the one tear. I mean, the whole thing was a show. Even when Tan is talking about his kids and how they don't treat him as the go-to parent, she kinda has a stank face on. She doesn't look happy or pleased to hear whatever he's saying. Just watch her here as he's talking.
Hurts my heart thinking that I'm not as important as the other parent. Really hard.
I know.
I don't know what that face she's making is, but she seems uninterested in what he's saying, or maybe like she can't even relate because as we know, when it comes to her kids, the most she has to say are their ages.
You know, our kids are 4 and 6, and so because Archie and Lily are just 3 and 5. We have 2 little ones. They are now 4 and 6.
Oh, we're crazy now that our little ones are little and enjoying every moment of it.
She then says,
But it'll change. There will come a moment where you're the favorite, and then it's gonna keep ebbing and flowing.
what does that even mean? This is what I mean when I say she doesn't know how to have authentic conversations or small talk with normal people. Anyway, she very much could have traveled with the kids, and there is no excuse as to why they don't. I think it's because Meghan would rather not share the spotlight with her children, and she prefers it to be all about her, because we've even seen how she makes Harry a side character. That could be a whole video on its own, so let me know if you want it, but there is no reason not to travel with the kids except for the made-up security claims that she and Harry tell. A source once told me that Meghan uses the kids to sting the royals, but more specifically, Lily. My source said, that child represents what the royals don't have: access, connection, control, and Meghan's not letting that go to waste. And that Meghan is fully aware that Lily is the most removed from the Windsor fold, and she's allegedly using that distance to send a very intentional message. I'll link my blog post down below so you can check out more tea. Another thing Meghan does on the show is hand out these very personalized, overly customized gifts to her guests. That's her thing. She wants people to think, oh my god, she's so sweet and generous, and the second coming of Princess Diana, she would never bully anyone. But this excessive gift-giving feels like a calculated move to hit back at the reputable stories of her bullying staff, reported not only in the UK, but independently investigated and confirmed in the US by The Hollywood Reporter and Vanity Fair. And to combat that, what did her staff, more specifically those who work in her PR, say in response to those allegations? Oh no, she's the sweetest, she's always giving us homemade baskets, I've never liked every single person I've worked for before until now, they want to take care of us, here's a basket of fresh fruit, eggs, oh here's a curated skincare basket for you. I'm serious, these were all responses to the allegations that she bullied staff. And what do we see on Netflix? Meghan working overtime to prove the story that she's constantly whipping up random little trinkets for her guests, people she barely knows, or in most cases, just met 5 minutes ago.
Because I know you are a spice lover.
Ooh.
Kiss, kiss.
I even like the little,
Kiss, kiss,
the little
kiss.
thing you put this in. That's so cute.
She wrapped it with a scarf, and of course, it cuts to her telling us a whole story about how she got here.
This wrapping is called pierogi, and it's honestly so simple to do.
Sometimes when I go to shops and I find something that I think is just extraordinary, I don't know who it's going to be for, but I know that I need to get it.
She tells the story about a year ago. She found this in a shop in North Carolina, and I guess Tan France was the perfect person to gift it to because he loves spices.
And I found this spice container. This is a masala daba, that's what this is called.
So she gifts Tan France a masala daba because why wouldn't she have a random thing lying around her house that she bought with absolutely no intention to use? Tan is so touched, he's like, oh my god, this is vintage, and gives her a big hug, and then she rambles about the story again.
Said you were coming and you love spice. I was like, that's so funny. I have this thing that I had bought. I always want to be able to share it with someone who would appreciate it.
It's a very sweet gesture, and Tan is of course so touched, and she's staring at him with her tight-lipped smile like, yes, mission accomplished. And you can tell how self-satisfied she feels. He then gives her another hug, and she's like,
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic.
and it really begs the question, what is the concept of the show? It's like a publicist meeting come to life, because from all we've seen, the entire purpose of the show is for Meghan to gloat about how awesome she is. One user said, "She's pretending to be some sickly, sweet, perfect Mary Poppins person living in perfect land, tie-dyeing cloth and making jam. This is not real life, as we know. Off camera, she's a narcissistic bully." Another said, "Authentic people give gifts off camera." Another added, "Here are two things I find interesting. Okay, she buys this item and puts it away for someone. Then she tells him I had it lying around for the right person. Not creepy at all. Then he said, oh my god, I've never had one of these. They are passed down over generations." And apparently masala dabbas are usually stainless steel, but I'll let our Indian viewers elaborate in the comment section since I know we have a big Indian audience. Nonetheless, it's definitely a sweet gesture had it been something authentic and not used as a bit on a show by someone who is known to literally use and discard people. But what do you guys think? Here we have Meghan dyeing a scarf, which is hard to imagine that this is how she spends her days, reheating the nachos from YouTube's DIY lifestyle gurus back in 2014.
Pretty good.
However, this second grade art project reminds her of what?
Kind of reminds me of old Poochie prints from the 70s.
Ah yes, a luxury fashion brand known for its intricate designs somehow looks like that. She then makes this hilarious black design for a pocket square for her friend Daniel. She holds it up and is like, yes. And she's literally holding up the most hilarious, unflattering design ever. But then she starts working on another one.
Oh my dear Daniel.
I feel like I'm watching a parody, but unfortunately, this is the original. She then gives it to her guests and their reactions are priceless. David Chang is like, whoa!
Wait, isn't that me?
But his face and the woman next to him, Christina, says it all. Daniel in the background is saying,
I can't believe you made this.
Isn't that fun?
Which really continues the theme of him being gagged in any small thing Meghan does, a pattern we saw in season 1. The whole time, David is like forcing an awkward smile while Christina is like, yeah, I'll wear this in the kitchen. In typical Meghan fashion, she has a heartwarming, meaningful speech behind these badly designed DIY pocket squares.
It was an experiment, but I think so much of it today will also be about finding new things that we may or may not be good.
It's not the cute, fun DIY craft idea. It's this ongoing theme of Meghan scraping the bottom of the barrel for some ideas for her lifestyle show that have nothing to do with her lifestyle. And we can clearly see she isn't good at it, yet she's positioned as if she's teaching us commoners how to pull it off. And I've seen the feedback from those listening on podcasts. So what, right? But it's not just so what when your entire brand depends on getting consumers to buy your products or tune into your show. That makes our reactions fair game. And in my case, I'm just enjoying what feels like a comedy show, even though it was never meant to be one.
Not a joke, but you're welcome to laugh.
She also doesn't take constructive criticism well, because on the circuit with Emily Chang, her reaction to the feedback of her show was,
I think oftentimes the negative voices, are they saying negative things and then secretly going home and making single skillet spaghetti? Possibly.
Literally no one is making single skillet spaghetti, and there wasn't any sort of craze or viral moments being recreated on TikTok, which is the metric for how successful or impactful something is nowadays. We've seen viral recipes take over, like Emily Mariko's salmon rice bowl, or even the Gigi Hadid pasta. Both simple recipes they didn't invent, but still blew up online and had an impact. Flour sprinkles, funny looking pocket squares, single skillet spaghetti, no one's doing any of it because we've already seen all of that before. On Pinterest, or back when lifestyle YouTubers were at their peak. Or simply because Meghan's version just isn't doing anything to make us care. Be sure to check out my video on her interview with Emily Chang because it was hilarious to say the least, and be on the lookout for part 2. One of the funniest moments on the show is when one of her guests, Payman Bahmani Bailey, low-key shaded the hell out of her. She asks him,
How did you get into mixology?
And right before he answers, she pulls this random face, closing her eyes and pressing her lips together for no clear reason. He then reveals that he was a former lawyer.
So I was a lawyer in New York.
To which she cuts him off and says,
Did you watch Suits?
He's so taken aback, you can see it in the way he just stares at her, before he says,
No.
Meghan then does this unhinged open-mouthed smile laugh, where no sound even comes out, and it feels completely forced, especially since right after that, he says,
I don't watch basic cable.
She continues the fake laugh, which you know is forced because she's like squealing and then is like, I love it.
Great! I love it!
Sure, Jan.
Not only did she cut him off to ask if he watched the only show she was ever really on, but he called it a basic show. And I don't know what's funnier, that or the fact that Netflix left it in, since clearly it doesn't seem like they have much material to work with. He then tries to make up an excuse like, it's because I like shows with curse words. Because I don't think that he wanted to be offensive to Meghan, but it's the fact that she thought to ask him that, as if Suits was this huge show that anyone in law must have watched. This is what happens when you gather up a bunch of random people you don't know to do a bunch of random activities that you also don't know. A theme you'll notice throughout the 2 seasons is that Meghan explains why she's making something and refers to a time in her childhood, and I guess she does this to pretend like whatever we're watching is authentic to her. Anyway, at some point she's making Thai iced tea, and she gives us this story.
You know, Thai Town is really popular in LA, and I used to go a lot when I was a kid. Always get a Thai iced tea because it feels so decadent and dessert-like, so even as a child you go, that's awesome.
Which is interesting because it kind of goes against the story that she was so poor growing up. She had to work at the ripe age of 13 at the Humphrey yogurt shop and lived off TV dinners and the occasional treat from Sizzler's $4.99 salad bar that made her feel lucky.
Isn't it just terrible?
So it's not about getting Thai iced tea often as a child, it's about Meghan's lie that they were dirt poor, that sometimes a treat was a $5 salad for dinner. As her half-brother said, that's just another one of the malarkey stories she sold to the royal family for sympathy. We weren't poor, she didn't have to rub 2 nickels together at Sizzler's salad bar. The entire world knows how she treated her family, especially her father, who gave her everything. That's why no one's buying it. In another moment, Meghan continues to peddle the story that she speaks fluent Spanish, saying that because she spent more time in Argentina, she's embarrassed to speak fluent Spanish.
You know I used to live in Spain.
I know.
I spent more time in Argentina, funny enough. That's why I get embarrassed to speak Spanish in front of you, because I have such an Argentinian accent.
She then repeats what Chef Jose Andres tells her to say.
Hola, Jose, ¿cómo estás? ¿Todo bien? Ah, mira vos.
Yeah.
And then says that because of her time spent in Spain, her accent gained a lisp to it.
Then you spend this time in Spain, and I ended up with that plus a lisp. From being impressed, you're like, hola, ¿de dónde sos? ¿Y cuándo llegaste? Gracias. Gracias.
Now, many people believe that Meghan is lying about being fluent and that she just knows a few phrases. This was evidenced by her and Harry's trip to Colombia, which I fully covered, so definitely check it out. I think what's even more interesting is that Meghan's half-sister Samantha claims that Meghan lied about working at the US Embassy in Argentina to begin with. According to Samantha, it was actually a 5-week study program paid for by their father, and their uncle helped her get in with the letter of recommendation. What do you guys think? There was this montage posted online of, I guess, funny moments of Meghan on the show, and without the music, it's the most awkward thing ever. Take a look.
I'm gonna get such great street cred.
I agree.
Sea cred.
Everybody should have one of those at home.
You think so? I look at her, she's like, oh, do I want any more bread? No, and I'm like, I have to eat it.
I know.
It took days to make it. Well, don't threaten me with a good time.
She's actually kind of likable when she's a bit normal. But a lot of the time, they're blasting a feel-good song on the show to force the vibe, since clearly they're not coming from the content we're consuming. At the end of the montage, Meghan is telling us about a song she learned in elementary school.
This is a song I learned in elementary school. Fish and chips and vinegar, 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 fish and chips and vinegar, pepper, 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 salt.
Many people felt like she was trolling the Brits because fish and chips is a big thing for them, while for us Americans, we call it fries. But honestly, what 40-something-year-old woman is still referencing songs from elementary school? I'm in my 20s and I don't even remember songs like that, let alone tie my everyday life back to grade school. Yet Meghan does it constantly on this show, which just makes it feel like she's making things up as she goes along. Take a look at the clip with music.
This is a song I learned in elementary school. Fish and chips and vinegar, 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 fish and chips and vinegar, pepper, 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 salt.
I'm telling you, the music is there to try to make the personality seem worthwhile because everything else is so lackluster. Chrissy Teigen also came on the show to let us know that she doesn't remember the birthdays of her own kids.
I had 2 of their birthdays because I don't remember.
And I don't know if Meghan is even listening to what she's saying or what, because she's like,
sweet. Yeah.
What is sweet about not remembering your kids' birthdays? You had to get them tattooed. And then Chrissy doesn't even know if it's the 16th or the 18th.
Oh,
18th.
no, that's... John? Is it... Brett? Or no, who's this? Miles. Is May...
And Meghan is standing there awkwardly laughing, which if there's anyone that can out-bully a bully, it'll be Chrissy. Remember the original reason she got cancelled? And at the time, she was someone who everyone found funny, even regarded as the queen of Twitter at some point. Until people were like, she's weird and a bully. So I guess it's fitting that she's on the show. It's just a lot of contrived stories either hitting back at her reputation or pretending she's some warrior.
We always get this next bit where she's like introducing her guests and how she knows them. And there's always this very pointed moment where they're like, I've known you through everything. Everything. And Meghan's like, like she's been in a war or something.
Each other through all the different versions of life.
In an effort to have some kitchen realness, as Netflix put it, we see Meghan motioning the camera away because her freezer isn't camera ready.
Whew, that's not pretty. That's not the shot.
Which would be relatable had this not been a set specifically designed for her to be on camera. At one point, she's juicing some vegetables and dying of laughter. When I tell you, dying of laughter. And what does the montage end with?
We're not going for perfect, we're going for real.
Which is genuinely the exact opposite of the show. I will say, when Meghan isn't trying so hard, there are a few digestible moments, like...
I'm just gonna add a little bit more apple because my ginger has decided not to be a backup singer. He's performing.
Or even...
Oh, okay, a little overzealous.
But that's maybe 0.0005% of the time, and the rest is just blasted with loud, overly joyful music to cover up how boring or painfully contrived the show really is. In one episode, Meghan and Tan France are sitting on the beach on this super windy day trying to enjoy their creations. She looks like she's freezing. It's definitely not an ideal setup, but hey, anything for the aesthetic, which just goes to show this is more about the cameras than her actual lifestyle. Then she goes off on this tangent like, I'm so glad you came to visit, yada 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 yada.
But I'm glad you came to visit.
I'm so glad I came to visit.
Thanks for making the effort.
And it's like, you invited him on the show. This man did not know you to begin with. You needed content and people to play the role of your friends on a lifestyle show that has nothing to do with your actual lifestyle. But the average viewer doesn't realize that. So when you point out how inauthentic it all is, you end up looking like the crazy one because you don't want to buy cookie mix and jam from a grifter. Even the way she stops mid-sentence and closes her eyes to perform human emotions, like a robot trying to pass for a person, it's just kind of hilarious to watch.
Came to visit.
And to wrap it all up, she kept boasting about how Netflix is her partner and how As Ever is this huge global brand that supposedly needs 1 million in stock, right? Well, the Netflix shop launched, and surprise, As Ever isn't on it. Now it looks like it won't even be sold in their stores. A journalist for The Guardian, you know, the same platform where Harry gave his exclusive interview after meeting his dad, to maybe collect some nickels, or what do you Brits call them, 5 pence? Anyway, that journalist, Marina Hyde, suggested that Netflix is quietly dropping As Ever, saying, Meghan's jam is supposedly for sale in the Netflix store, but they don't even have a tab for her show. She has gone into a product partnership with them, but I'm afraid that will just peter out. Long story short, all that hype, all those bold claims, and in the end, it looks like the brand isn't exactly the global powerhouse she promised. It's more like a cameo on a shelf nobody's checking. It's everyone else's fault. To say Meghan has a flair for deflecting responsibility would be putting it lightly. Despite her own missteps like changing the brand name to As Ever at the last minute and launching a lifestyle brand that wasn't even ready to be showcased on the show, she still somehow finds a way to point fingers at everyone else. Radar Online reports that Meghan believes her Netflix series has been hijacked by a wave of celebrity distractions, with Taylor Swift's engagement announcement being the latest blow in what Meghan sees as a coordinated conspiracy campaign against her projects. One insider told Radar Online, Meghan is convinced there's a whole showbiz conspiracy to kill her momentum. She feels every time she has a big launch, something massive lands that overshadows it. She sees Taylor's announcement as part of that pattern. Meghan truly believes forces, including the royal family and dark PR arts, are being deployed in the background to keep her out of the spotlight after her attacks on the royal family. It gets more delusional. Another source added, she worries there is a deliberate attempt to clip her wings and sees herself as a Princess Diana type figure in this way, as she is convinced the royals are out to get her. But the reality is, she's deluded and of no real interest compared to an A-lister like Taylor. Whoever that source is spilling the tea, and also if you don't believe this information, it's funny because this is the exact same thing that Meghan and Harry said on Netflix. They were talking about a coordinated smear campaign and this attack by the royal family and hiring the media and basically wining and dining them to get them to talk bad about Harry and Meghan. So if anything, this is confirming the information that she and Harry herself said. Meghan is also reportedly seething privately despite publicly liking Taylor's engagement post, and friends say she is beyond frustrated that As Ever cannot secure even a single celebrity endorsement. Dolly Parton refusing to appear on the show reportedly hit particularly hard, with Meghan reportedly telling friends that there's a quiet effort to undercut her orchestrated from across the Atlantic and the royal family. Another Hollywood acquaintance added, when Meghan and Harry first moved to California, they were celebrated as Hollywood's new power couple, but over time, A-listers have drifted back toward the monarchy. Meghan feels that isn't organic, she thinks it's being managed. She's apparently hugely jealous of all the stars now orbiting William and Catherine, like David and Victoria Beckham, George and Amal Clooney, you name it. All people she has invited to the wedding while leaving out her family and friends. Now, while Netflix execs shrug off this whole sabotage thing, Meghan's friends say she reads every celebrity announcement as a personal snub, like everyone is backing away from her. As a source summed it up, every time she promotes something, she feels like another celebrity announcement drops that takes the attention away. It leaves her paranoid, but also determined. Meghan says she won't be pushed out of Hollywood, but she's just viewed as a toxic moaner, and no one of any real status wants to get caught up in her orbit. Long story short, Meghan has mastered the art of turning her own failures into a grand narrative of sabotage and conspiracies, blaming everyone but herself, while the rest of the world just watches. While she's doing all that, Harry is still drawing no crowds or anyone who cares. And just to make matters worse for him, there's talk about him being forced to quit the Invictus Games because he's a divisive figure, and probably because Meghan has previously used the games as her very own fashion week. But that should give Meghan enough time to stay at home to upload Instagram stories of bugs crawling on her cookies. I'd also say she can work on her Shop My page, where she previously listed brands known to be worn by the Wales kids, but it seems like she officially abandoned that page as it's not listed on her Instagram account anymore. I guess the Meghan effect wasn't in effect. Now she's back to using the kids in interviews and going back to her part-time job of mic snatching at Kevin Costner's charity event yet again. Be on the lookout for that video coming very soon. But as we can see, this entire rebrand of who the real Meghan is and what she likes doing in her free time is just that, another rebrand. Once upon a time, her rebrand was the mixed-race princess who just wants to help and everyone is so mean and racist to her. Hear me out, because I'm being harassed on Spotify by people who just clocked into the Meghan lore. Her last solo engagement as a working royal after announcing that she and Harry will be leaving the royal family in January 2020 was on March 6th, 2020. There, she visited the Robert Clack Upper School, a school that is known to have a very diverse community and is in an area with high poverty levels. It also came before her last royal engagement ever on March 9th, 2020. Right off the bat, we can see where Meghan was going with this. Writing about her visit on the school's official page, the school revealed that Meghan had been emailing, asking if any local schools would like a visit from the Duchess. So she was essentially shopping for a good publicity moment. She visited in honor of International Women's Day 2 days ahead, and there we could see that she had a whole photo shoot at the school. Of course, she had the students line up to clap it up for her. And how do I know that this was a specific Meghan request? Well, when she tried to do the same self-promotional tour in Harlem, New York, another school with a diverse low-income neighborhood, her representatives were exposed in emails for suggesting bringing cushions and a new carpet to the public school to better fit with Meghan's aesthetic because they were filming for Netflix. So already we can see that this was a theme of Meghan's. I'm bringing this up now because I find it quite interesting that this entire aesthetic of sweet little duchess who just wants to help the world, and look, she's visiting low-income neighborhoods with a diverse student body, but the whole world is hating on her for no real reason, has now been abandoned for this more tradwife wannabe Pamela Anderson, here's how to dye pocket squares and make single skillet pasta vibe. It's sad because the students at the Robert Clack Upper School praised her for being an inspirational person not just to young people from ethnic minorities and females, but to the general population. And this visit is certainly one I will remember, as the crucial celebration of women and female empowerment was recognized by a leading female figure in public British consciousness. As I am from a borough with issues surrounding gender equality and the empowerment of young people, I think that Meghan Markle recognizing our area and our school as an important center of change for gender in our society and the role and status of women is incredibly powerful. The crazy part is, Meghan has been given a platform in the past to essentially use these people who only wanted representation and someone to make a real change, and when that rebrand wasn't working for her, it was dumped, and now she's a lifestyle duchess faking a lifestyle on a Netflix show. And it's these things that people don't recall. So when you do drag Meghan or laugh at her embarrassing moments like I do, you're called a hater for not letting her live her life and make jam, forgetting that this is just yet another one of those rebrands she's hoping sticks. Because if not, she's ready to use the next big thing to make it happen. And if you have something to say about that, apparently you're the problem. Well guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed laughing at Meghan Season 2 disasters with me, because at the end of the day, it's not about jam or pocket squares, it's just Meghan trying on yet another identity and hoping this one sticks. Do you guys want a part 2? Be on the lookout for my video about the disaster that was her and Harry at Kevin Costner's annual fundraiser, where Meghan wanted to mic snatch some more but was pushed aside by none other than Harry. Support our podcast and give it 5 stars, like and subscribe for new videos each week, put those post notifications on so you don't miss the live chat premiere we do for every single video, follow us on our social media, and as ever, I'll see you next time.